how we keep time really, really matters. And in this particular, actually, I think it might have been an X post or something she sent me. There was a woman talking about the transition of the calendars from the old world calendar to the current Gregorian calendar, and how there were days left out. There was a time with no time, right? And if you calculate that, if you add in all those anomalies that came with the application of the Gregorian calendar, it turned out to be a 12-year discrepancy in time, which means right now this solstice is the 2012 that has been prophesied by the Mayan calendar. I chuckle because this is a great example about time and how it impacts our perceptions of things. With us having the perception of 2012 was back when we thought it was, we have a different idea about reality and the kinds of things that are unfolding. And if we add in this thought of maybe this is the actual time that's been prophesied, then it changes, it starts to change the skew that we have in how we perceive things going on. And I'm here to tell you guys that the Armageddon program has been something that has been ran over and over and over again because it's such a great manipulative tool to the consciousness of the collective. So I personally do not pay any mind to Armageddon programming, including nuclear war, because it's a narrative that I feel deep inside has been manipulated and weaponized. So I unplug from those sorts of things, or I don't give it much weight. Anyway, keep moving forward with this time thing. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the videos of the timekeepers, how they create nesting dolls of all the different mechanisms of keeping of time, including the astrological chart, including the zodiac, the zodiac map. And then you have the seasons, and then you have the lunar calendar. There are other calendars that collectives of people use. It's just not an internationally accepted calendar. For example, the Chinese, they have their own calendar, right? The Chinese New Year. This is how we know we're going from the year of the dragon into the year of the snake. It's the first new moon after the solstice, right? So it's like, you know, I think it's after the first new moon after the solstice, or it's the first new moon after our new year, something like this. I can't remember exactly, but the lunar calendar has its own rhythm is the point to that. And that is an example of a lunar calendar that is still in place today. And that there are entire collectives of people that go by that calendar. And then you also have the Hebrew calendar. According to them, this is the year 5,000 something, something, something. Right? So there's another timekeeping mechanism there. And then you have other kinds of calendars. And like I said, it's an energy that has a really strong influence, though we don't realize it, on our capacity to be in tune with the natural rhythms of our reality. So that's the natural rhythms of the earth, the natural rhythms of the galactic, of the cosmos, of the celestial bodies, right? And then, of course, the rhythm of the moon. Now, there's a lot of argument about whether the moon is a natural object or not. And let me know if you guys are familiar with that, what I mean by that. There are records, indigenous records, that talk about the time before the moon. And notice they're talking about the time before the moon, as in there was an awareness, a mapping up of time that existed before the moon was a contributor into the consciousness of this reality, of this realm. And according to those records, that goes back about because nobody really knows, because of the way time has been messed with in this reality. It goes back about 150,000 years. Now, how could they have records that go back that far? That's because their record keeping goes beyond the typical time space that we have. their record keeping, they have shamanic keepers, they have interdimensional keepers, they have multiple beings outside of the human species giving them wisdom and records about history. Sasquatch could be included in that. The ant people are definitely included in that. If you guys don't know, the ant people are very well known among the Southwest Indigenous, the Hopi, the Dene, the Navajo, and others. And they talk about the ant people rescued them during the last catastrophe, which was roughly about 5,000 years ago. Now, their Indigenous lore, in my view, has a lot more weight than the history that we have in our history books, because history is written by the winner, as we all know, and there's a reason for a manipulation to be going on, right? So it's already shown us that the manipulation of time and history have really influenced us on a deep subconscious level, and actually and it's actually a technique to create false timelines. So for me, learning about Indigenous records and Indigenous wisdom, it's really helpful because I have a high value in maintaining a harmonic relationship with the natural world. So I have deep appreciation for these ancient stories. And it helps frame my understanding up differently to humanity and what's been going on with the true history of humanity. And by waking up to those sorts of things, I get to retune in to what people might call the natural organic timeline. Now, the word organic and synthetic, those two things, that I have a lot of issues with those terms because they don't feel absolutely true and descriptive to what I'm trying to say. But it is in the vernacular in a certain way that frames up where the understanding is close enough to what I'm trying to say. An example, someone might say, because of the question narratives about the moon, that is not an organic satellite that is in our skies. According to some narratives, that is a ship that's been towed in from the Pleiades. So that is a ship towed in from the shadow realms. That is a ship brought in by the Gregorians. There's different stories about who brought it, but the main piece there is that there's a story consistent among many cultures and Indigenous records that it is a artificial satellite that was towed into place. That's the more important part. So because of that, can we truly call the lunar cycles organic? You see what I mean? So this idea of organic synthetic, it's, we have to, it's good that we're here to this understanding, because we have to start splitting hairs here about what is it that we're truly trying to say with these descriptors. So there's also a concept that the moon is considered a organic part of our timeline because it's been here for so long. You guys decide where that lands for you, right? So there's lots of different schools of thought and perceptions. But what I'm saying here is that these skewed history, the skewed timeline, these different versions of how about humanity gets embedded deep in our subconscious and participates in us colluding with the manifestation of these false timelines, these timelines that are not in rhythm to the natural rhythms of Mother Nature and of the cosmos. And that's the big piece here. We need to continue to question things and shift our habits and practices to this particular fulcrum. Does this mechanism, technique, whatever, pull me closer into the natural rhythms of the earth? Does this ... tune me even more deeply to the rhythms of the cosmos, right? And each person is going to come to a different place. this time that we're in right now, we are all in exploration and experimentation on what it is to be a multidimensional sovereign being in this time of chaos and change that's happening on this planet, whether it be the true ending of the Mayan calendar or not. See what I mean? Now that narrative really does not matter when you have this particular frame up in your awareness.